Hello and welcome back to another video, and yeah, we'll have a look at a bit of, not, oh god, I wouldn't go through all of this, crying out loud. Slopes. Yeah, he said he was going to make a video. I suppose he made a video, but I'm not sitting through any more of this than I have to, because quite frankly it's just a summary of everything that's happened. And you know when I found out everything that happened? While it was all going on, and regularly. So here we have Slopes. DJ apparently. That's why he wears a hat, I guess. Not to hide a bald spot. He's a man who makes videos about scammers and couldn't see the wood for the trees when it came to Tommy Tallarico. Now, if he'd done the interview with Tommy at the start, he could have let him off. But he did it in November 2021. So, after the physical, and he talks about it here in this particular section, after the physical product scam. And after the console had been cancelled numerous times, with no more release dates being set, this clown couldn't spot a scam, even though he's meant to be the one who spots scams. Why does anyone give him the time of day when he has no authority anymore? Unless it's just to point this out. Also bear in mind he put his Tommy interview on his secondary channel, Extra Slope. So I've got a few tabs set up. So there we go, Extra Slope. This has just over 8,000 subscribers compared to mine. So mine's got, where are we? 6.19. You can't have 0.1 of a person, but so 8,400. Let's say I've got about 6,200 subscribers. So people will automatically go, "Oh, but Tommy's got more than you. You must be well gel," as the kids say. Well, no, because he has a lot less views and a lot less watch time than me. So if you look at him, his channel, he has 350,000 views, let's call it. I've got just over 4.5 million. So, I mean, he could possibly say that if he's, I mean, he has a lot of live videos on here. I mean, they don't get exactly stellar hits, do they? You know, for someone who's got 163 or 164,000 subscribers on his other channel, why did none of them come over to this one? That's a pretty poor do, isn't it? So, yeah, it's strange that, I mean, he says Tommy sent him the games to review or unbox, whatever, on his channel. Yet, why would they when hardly anyone's watching? I don't get it. And if it's something to do with the Amico, why would he not try and capitalise on the views and put it on his main channel? So, yeah, as I say, I've got 4.6 million there. So, the point is, most people watching this new video won't be aware that that channel exists, nor the Tommy interview. Now, we'll come to the bit in a minute. Sure, he pretends to put out an apology, but the average viewer retention, and if you don't make videos, you probably won't be aware of this. Each video comes with a graph, and it sort of shows how much people pay attention to a video. So it'll start off at 100% generally. This is like, let's say for a gameplay video that's lasting about 20 minutes. It'll start off, because if you do like a very short video that's about 30 seconds, you'll have high retention right the way through, because you know people don't disappear within 30 seconds. Well, let's say you've got a gameplay video that's 20 minutes. It'll start off at 100%. Sometimes it'll be, people will click on because the autoplay thing has brought them to it, or maybe they did choose to actually click on it. But after about 50% of the way through any video, a lot less people are watching. Not, they might watch a gameplay video and they don't need to see the whole thing in order to get the idea of the game. Or as I say, they might have just come on through an autoplay and they think, oh, this wasn't the video I meant to be watching. And so they switch off a few seconds later. So the people who are watching it towards the end are an absolute fraction of those at the start. Hence why through the so-called apology, so late on. So that hardly any of those casual viewers will even see it. If he wanted to be honest, he would have put it on at the start. Even more questionable is some of the contributors on this video. There's a list at the end, but Retro Bro and Saggy Melons? He must have been desperate. Anyway, so this is him. Maybe he's saying, oh, I've got egg on my face because of Tommy. Because he sucked into Tommy's lies. I was going to say something else about sucking Tommy, but anyway, let's... You get the idea.
You can then sell your digital download to someone else.
Are you ready? Yeah. And then I decided...
I thought it's only like once men get into the 60s and 70s that they start wearing brown trousers. Anyway.
To reach out to Tommy Tallarico on this very day, someone I have never spoken to before, and ask him if he would be willing to send me these games in exchange for a review. Go on.
Here we go.
Oh, hang on. There we go.
Oh, hide the bald spot. Very droll. So I should have done that when he wasn't expecting it, perhaps. Anyway, let's go to, where are we? Stick the subtitles on. Might need it because I think he's from London. Anyway, so yeah, there we go. But now Dom's got to get a drink. It slopes here. I want to talk to you about my apology. I'm just in a brief guest appearance here because I thought I'd just throw him in. I had loads of people do vocal contributions to my video. I want to appear on Dom's video as well. I want to set the record straight. This is my real apology. Let's just play it. See, is it a real apology? It goes from about 3:22 to about 3:29. Let's analyse it.
Now, before we get into this part of the video, let me say straight off the bat, I'm sorry.
3 hours, 22 minutes. That's longer than Titanic. I went to see Titanic in 3D at the weekend. I think that's probably the longest film I've ever seen in the cinema. I sat through it twice. Once was in 1998 when it came to the UK. And then just this past weekend when it came to cinemas again. This time in 3D. Doesn't really need to be in 3D, quite frankly. Yeah, so you get that sort of cardboard cutout feel when there's stuff in the foreground. I mean, they did in terms of just like a 4K restoration on how the picture looks compared to, so the average film shot 25 years ago, it looks absolutely astounding. It looks brilliant. As someone said on Reddit, it looks like it was shot yesterday. Of course, it wasn't shot yesterday because that meant I couldn't have watched it at the weekend, but you get the idea. It really does look very recent. So when if a 4K restoration comes out, then it's worth watching for that, just without the 3D. Anyway, so where are we? 202 minutes into the 4-hour video. He's making his apology. So straight off the bat, he's saying, I'm sorry. Straight off the bat, as in longer than Titanic. Utterly ridiculous.
To this part of the video, let me say straight off the bat,
200 minutes in,
I'm sorry. A big fat sorry.
That nobody will see because they will have long since stopped watching.
To everyone.
Doesn't wash, mate. Doesn't wash.
You see, in my mind, knowing what I did back then, this was the right way to go about doing things.
At least, all I can say is the only plus I can give for him is at least unlike a lot of YouTubers, he actually bothers to have a shave.
I knew he had done a lot of interviews, but I hadn't even watched 1% of what was out there. There was just too much, and I wouldn't even wish that on my own worst enemy.
So he just couldn't be bothered, in other words.
Regarding part 1, the history section, I stand by that. Again, knowing what I knew then, he deserved respect.
Even though a load of it is lies? No.
And just like everyone else I've ever spoken to over...
Oh, there's also a section that someone pointed out in this video that, I forget where they mentioned it in the video now, but someone on Reddit pointed out that he talks about some games being censored in Germany only, and they weren't censored at all, or in some cases there were games which were censored everywhere. But to say they were censored in Germany only is a complete falsehood. I can't remember what they were now, or where they were, but you get the idea. So, a 4-hour video isn't quite as well researched as you think.
Over the years to create my history videos, I wanted to treat him with the same level of respect that I would anyone else.
At what point do you start questioning someone, though? You know, I could start naming some very questionable people in history and saying, well, you could say they deserve, I won't name some names, but you could say, oh, they deserve respect in perhaps some of the things they might have achieved when they were younger, and then when they became, a lot more famous years on, they became complete tyrants, and then some. But no, you were sucking up to Tommy. That was perfectly obvious.
Of course, if I knew a lot of what he had said was fabricated, then I still would have treated him with respect.
Why? He could have just actually looked it up as well. Good God. And this is a man who we're supposed to expect. Well, we're supposed to treat him with respect as someone who actually researches everything thoroughly. Do me a favour.
But of course, I would have definitely pushed back.
No, you wouldn't, because you were sucking up to him.
So once my contract was coming to an end was around the same time that Retro's projects were all getting canceled except for Metroid, and they had an internal audio department. They had taken over for Metroid.
Tommy, if you're listening, I mean, of course you're listening.
Not necessarily. He's taken his $18 million and buggered off.
What are you doing, mate?
He's making $18 million out of chumps who want to throw money at him. You threw money at him with a Amico pre-order. Did you ever get that money back?
Yes, you was a part of Metroid Prime. But
yes, you were a part of Metroid Prime. Not was.
you weren't a key player. You didn't do all of the music, and I struggle to believe that you worked on it for 5 years. The end result is that a very small amount of you or your team's work is in this game. But to many, that would still be enough. You know how famous actors that don't win an award still talk about how they were nominated? The reason they do this is because it's still an incredible achievement to get that far. Having Tommy Tallarico Studios working on Metroid Prime in its early days is one of those incredible achievements in its own right. And you would have
You were starstruck by him. Admit it.
got nothing but praise if you left it at that. Sadly, the push to say you did more than you actually did completely wipes away from the importance and the achievements that you do deserve. And if
I presume he's meant to be famous, that guy, but I've no idea who it is.
everything that has come out over the last few years is true, then sadly, it's all your own fault.
If everything else that comes out over the last few years is true. So he's still not wanting to commit. He's still not sorry at all.
You have had an incredible career. It's time to be truthful and stop making it sound better than it is, because it's really sad to say, but you are ruining your legacy, mate.
Hang on. He definitely shaves between the eyebrows, I tell you that.
It's because it's really sad to say, but you are ruining your legacy, mate.
No, Tommy never loses. Tommy's was it Little League or something, and he got in the Guinness Book of Records for the biggest number of lies, something like that.
It's painful for me to say all of this, but hopefully you take it on board. Now,
God, yeah, because he's still sucking up to him.
that's enough bashing from me, because it's time to turn that
That's bashing. Good God, hate to know when you start.
camera round. Yep, it's my turn. I fucked up. It took a long time to see where I went wrong here.
Well, everyone. I told you straight away on my videos, my six-part video about your ridiculous interview. Maybe that's why he didn't want me involved in this video.
In my eyes, I always knew that this Amico scandal video was going to be released, whether the Amico was a roaring success that completely dominated the world market, or, well, how it's turned out.
Well, I doubt you'd have the Amico video if it was a huge success, but then we know it wasn't going to be one anyway by that point.
The lead up to this system's release is just way too interesting not to cover, no matter how it turned out. And in my mind, the best way to get that video created was to inject myself into the story. And boy, oh boy, did that wish come true. In the Tommy Tallarico Part 2 interview, for the most part,
And that was the one I watched. I wasn't interested in the first one. It was the second one where he talks about the Amico. That was the important thing.
content was mostly the same. For Tommy, it was so incredibly formulaic by this point. Kick off at the haters, drop a few exclusives that are not really exclusives, and skate around any question in a way that honestly made it hard for me to respond.
You could have pushed back. You could have been hard with the questions, but you weren't, because you were just I hate to use Darius's line where he talks about certain YouTubers and says you're in love with another man, but you were enamored with him. Own up, own it.
There's encrypted data on there that a RFID reader won't see.
Okay. So people are asking in the chat, how is it encrypted?
That's a silly question.
And you didn't push back at all.
I'm not going to answer that question. How is it encrypted?
No, but what I'm saying, I think, putting it like this. So basically, what they're saying is that I tap this on my system. There's something in there that's more than just Intellivision.com/RFID/.
Why do people say /? It's just slash. I know I moaned about this at the time. You're supposed to be into tech, Slopes. Why are you saying /? Oh, God. So many bloody newbies like presenters on BBC Breakfast to say things like that. People who haven't got a brain to function with. I'm quite sure you got a brain. Otherwise, you'd be presenting TV shows. But /. Why do people say it? There is no / anymore. I know there's like a backslash that may have been used in, or they used in web addresses many years ago. But if you put a backslash in a web address now, it would just automatically turn it back into a regular one. Come.
Correct. Biplanes, !I
Correct.
equals. There's something else. There's something else that's encrypting it. What can you explain what it is that's more than just that URL?
I mean, the only thing here is that it just looks like Tommy hasn't been asked this question before. But then maybe the other questions he was getting were from the likes of OEB Pete and DJC, who weren't the brightest tools in the shed.
No, I wouldn't say that publicly. No, I guess I don't understand. There's encrypted data that is proprietary Intellivision data.
So I've got subtitles over. No proof encrypted data has ever been found. Well, we knew that was the case because when someone scanned it with an RFID reader, and all it was just the URL to the actual page on the Intellivision website for each game. So all it would do is, if the Amico there was a thing, and if it had a browser, it would bring up the website for the game. That's it. It wouldn't download anything at all.
Security data.
Okay, it's a security thing. You don't want to divulge it in that sense. Yeah. Okay. No, that's completely fair enough. I mean, you wouldn't ask the same thing of Nintendo or what have you, but it's
why not?
Just to clarify, that you are saying that there is something on this card that the RFID readers are not picking up.
100%. And again, people are calling me a liar and this and that. Again,
It's one of the most painful videos in the almost 1,000 videos that I have created simply because I didn't research more beforehand, and therefore I had very little fuel on my end to fight back, resulting in what I would eventually discover is the most fabricated 2 hours and 43 minutes of my life.
So it's so he didn't do his research. You think someone who supposedly makes all these kick scammers videos and supposedly researches things would do his research, but he didn't, because he was starstruck by Tommy. And if you want to see something that's even more fabricated, that's 2 hours 43 minutes, go watch No Time to Die, that awful last Bond film. God, bloody awful. Finally got around to watching it. I know it was on ITV on New Year's Day, quite soon. Normally films take about 2.5 to 3 years to come onto regular telly. This one came out in the UK at the end of September 2021 in the cinemas, and it was on New Year's Day on 2023 on ITV. How much they must have paid to get that, I don't know, but must have paid a pretty penny for that. I remember, I think it was Mission Impossible Fallout came out in the summer, July I think, 2018, and it was on. This is the first time I came across something this fast coming onto TV, 1st of January, so New Year's Day 2020, so about just over 17 months, it was on Channel 4. But yeah, God, and both films overlong and overhyped. Anyway, back to the Amico.
It's easy to forget that we as YouTubers unfortunately have an incredible amount of power in regards to influencing our most dedicated fans. It's why companies...
So you just throw it away, don't you? But just by pretending you've done your research when you haven't.
Pay top dollar to use our platforms to sell their products. Now, of course, I was not paid to do these interviews or to do the unboxing, but instead it went the other way around. I didn't stop to think that I was the one that paid the price to him to still use me to promote his product.
Confused? I'm confused.dumb.
Product that I still admit intrigues the hell out of me, but a product with more red flags than a Ferrari festival.
Well, there's nothing to be intrigued about. It's just a Raspberry Pi in a box that he made to sound like it was a lot more than it was. And as we saw when DJC had the setting up in his mum's basement, there was just no weight to it at all.
It's taken me a really long time to come to the realization of what I did wrong here.
Oh God, it's just, and he still hasn't, admitted it really, has he?
Because honestly, I was being honest throughout this entire thing.
You haven't been honest at all.
However, it is onward and upward from here on out, and all I can
Well, you can't go any lower, can you?
say again is, I'm sorry.
You're not at all.
I'm sorry.
You're not at all.
Let's continue.
Do we have to? Well, I presume that's are we at the end of that? Yeah, it moves on to battle tanks now. So that's the end of that nonsense. What else do we have for you? So the other thing we have to talk about is Phil Adam. He's back. Well, he's not really back. It's thanks by the way to Andrew Vrba for the heads up on this. It's in the Intellivision Amico Reddit, the only Amico Reddit that's on Reddit anymore. And Battle Chess. It was Kickstarter. Yep, the Calico, let's call the whole thing off. Vision, the man who created that didn't exist. He didn't create the ColecoVision. He tried to create the Coleco Chameleon, which didn't exist. And yeah, so Battle Chess. He wanted to start a Kickstarter to bring this game back. Oh, what a shame! Funding was unsuccessful. So this was in April 2012. That was when the last login was for him. So sometime in 2012 it came out, unless they just sort of created it in April 2012, because it says last login 6th of April 2012. And the project failed. The project reached the deadline without achieving its funding goal on June the 1st. So it's like they just logged in, did nothing, set it up, and then logged out and didn't log back in again. So we set out to create a new Battle Chess that would please the old school fans as well as modern gamers. We are proud of what we've done so far, but we need funding in order to complete our vision. Ooh, that sounds familiar. We are a very small developer, less than 10 people, who love Battle Chess and really wanted to see it updated with today's graphics capabilities. For the past 2 years, we've spent our spare time and company's profits developing this game. Bullshit. Ideally, it would have been done a year ago, but with the need to stop and work on paying projects, and it slowed us down considerably. We explored many outside funding options, not a chance, only to be told we weren't interested because board games don't sell. And so why would he continue? Undeterred, we pushed on, but ultimately the money ran so low we were forced to stop production altogether. When Double Fine launched their Kickstarter project, like many developers, it showed us a new way to go. Or a new way to go to the fans. Yeah, it's like Metal Jesus rocks and his RV scam. So that's what we've done. We need funding to complete the various features of the game. More importantly, we need to fund the completion of online multiplayer. Online multiplayer for bloody Battle Chess. Oh, so here we go. Beetlejuice 7, who's it posted this? Emilio Estevez's Tash. Probably was still due a Young Guns 3 film, although they're old guns. It's just called Guns 3, but yeah, I'll be interested in that when it comes out. Still weird that Young Guns, the first film, was an 18 certificate, and then the by the time the second one came out, they realised there was a big market for it, and so they dumbed it down to a 12 certificate, so could get all the kids going to see it as well. Anyway, another company Phil was at when it died. People say he's brought in to dissolve failing companies, but maybe he just has a natural talent for killing them. Manolgar, either he's really good at ending companies on purpose, or he's really good at killing them unintentionally. I believe either. Yeah, online multiplayer, etc. You can do multiplayer for chess literally with an email server as a server. Why not release the game without online multiplayer? We considered it, but releasing the game with such an obvious feature missing just didn't seem right. There's an old saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. We felt that releasing it without multiplayer would have left the fans feeling ripped off or slighted in some way. Well, it doesn't seem to bother you on a regular basis, does it? Most fans would prefer you add multiplayer first and then I'll buy the game. Yeah, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. We felt that when releasing the Amico without everything Tommy promised would have left the fans feeling ripped off or slighted in some way. Yeah, Battle Chess, Laskin said Battle Chess is a pretty stupid idea for a revival. Archon, I'm not quite familiar with Archon. Much better ideas. Anyway, Battle Chess is literally just chess with fancy graphics for the deaths. I'll bring up a video of it in a moment if you're not familiar with it. Even then, it's just been revived a bunch of times under different names. There was meant to be an Archon for the Amico, says Gatorus, probably a port of the Steam version. I think it was one of the mini IP name drops. Yeah, exactly. Would have been easy to license, though. An abandoned mobile game is out there. It's one of the first old game ports on the nascent App Store. Amico is all about scooping up past failures and repackaging them for their family footbath fools. Yeah, Battle Chess was neat back in the 80s as a concept of playing chess against a computer, and complex animations on a computer were fairly unheard of. Yeah, I mean, now you can just play it on your phone. So, and you probably could do that in 2012 as well. I was certainly playing Words with Friends at the time on my phone, and I still do. But it makes no sense to release Battle Chess in an age where interactive movies like The Last of Us and Walking Dead were incredibly popular. Plus, you can play chess for free online. Supposed connection to Tetris? Phil Adam claims he brought Tetris to America. Yeah, like no one else would have done that. I doubt he did that at all. I don't know who did. But yeah, someone else would have done it, like Nintendo. Yeah, I thought it was just a Nintendo thing on the Game Boy. Maybe Phil Adam likes to shove cartridges up Game Boys. Who knows? Anyway, Phil Adams, well, he works at Spectrum Holobyte, had, as far as I know, nothing to do with acquiring rights to Tetris for computers, so it's a Tommy level of acclaim. Related, they absolutely stuffed up with sub-licensing it out, not writing the license agreement to cover anything computerized, just home computers, losing a lot of money. It wasn't a question of who would like to publish it or if anyone would, but more about who got the rights to do it. Bill said in a stream he went to Russia and did the deal in an office containing Soviet guards armed with machine guns. Oh yeah, my arse. Sounds like you know Tommy Talk. Has he mentioned any of the documentaries about the subject of something? It wasn't usually even that in 80s DDR does that German stuff, even for military-related foreign trade stuff. Surely there was maybe some handler KGB on them, but being in Russia, I feel there's some punctuation missing. But being in Russia in the latter half of 80s, that's not a given. It's more likely they had to drink with some officials. A lot. But having armed extra ears on the room, I don't see that as likely. The story I heard about an office trying to sell Micron Mikos, a Finnish PC from the 80s, in Moscow before the fall was that this is just waffling on. I'm sorry, I can't get stuck into all that. But yeah, you get the idea that it just Phil Adams seems to be a harbinger of failure. Yeah, it's just nothing Phil Adam ever does comes to fruition, apart from scamming $80 million to get in his bank. Free Reddit report, just my opinion, but Battle Chess is one of the shittiest games on the NES. The other versions are either just as bad or not much better. There are only 35 possible attack animations, and the walking animations of every single piece is very slow. Sitting there while your bishop walks all the way diagonal and kills a pawn or whatever is boring as hell. You can play in 2D mode with no animations, but then it's just a generic chess program. I'm sure it could be made better with lots of cooler possible animations and faster movement, but even then, you're just watching animations. You'll eventually see them all, and then who cares? They do nothing for the game itself unless you were to change the rules. So yeah, it's the kind of thing. Once you've seen it all, that's it. There's only 35 combinations. How many times is it awesome to see the pawn kills pawn animation? Even though this was quite early on. So yeah, the tourist says, I agree, I had battle chess back in the day and it's cool for 5 minutes. Then you just want to skip the animations. Even so, it shouldn't have been that expensive to make. It's just 6 models and a few dozen short animations. An experienced animator should have been able to knock that out in like a month. Well, Gator's games were all made in a day, so he could make it in a day quite easily, I would have thought. I'd say beat-em-ups could make it as well, but he'd probably just cry about it first. So, that's a picture someone linked to. Somewhere, I think it was somewhere in this thread they linked to. I forgot to go straight to it, but anyway, that's Tommy shouting somewhere. Anyway, so this is battle chess. Thrilling. Get ready. Ooh. Computer's thinking. I wonder if they paid the rights to use Rodin's The Thinker. Probably not. Yeah, so if you're playing the game and you're trying to play a game, you want it to get through the slow stuff very quickly. No one's going to sit through that on a regular basis. But what was interesting is in the description on this, they link through to Defender of the Crown. Now, I didn't know there's an NES version, and I remember playing this. Oh, so this was 1988. Oh, well, 1990 as it says on here. Data East 1990 chess game for the NES. But yeah, so it came up on the Amiga in 1988 by Interplay. Wasn't Interplay Phil Adam as well? Anyway, but yeah, so it'd be around about 88 that I was playing Defender of the Crown on the Atari ST, and it's such a bizarre game because I've linked to a video here. It was like very, very bitty. Sometimes you had a little bit of stuff to play, and then it would just show you animations and things. But it still felt like an incredible game to play. But this was the part where you're doing jousting, and it's still pretty familiar, or still pretty faithful compared to what's in the Atari version. And I would always lose. I don't know whether the guy did lose there, but I would always lose, whatever happened. Even when you think you're aiming your lance or whatever at the guy's shield, and you think, yeah, I've got him, you would then still lose. Should have been Tommy Tallarico, because Tommy never loses. Anyways, so that's all there is to say for this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. In the meantime, please like this video, share with your friends, subscribe if you haven't already, click on the bell for all notifications, and cue Genesis.